Now on CoastTV News.
An Easton pastor released by ICE, what his family is now saying. Hypoxia levels above average in the Chesapeake Bay, how this is affecting wildlife. New weekend toll rates in Delaware, drivers paying more while the state says it'll help the roads.
We have a nice weekend underway and a nice Sunday with warmer and more humid conditions, cooler with showers into next week, then dangerous rip currents and waves due to Hurricane Erin. Details coming up.
This is CoastTV News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Brandon Ferguson. Welcome to CoastTV News at 6. We begin tonight with a pastor detained by ICE last month. He is now released and back home on Delmarva. Viewers might remember the pastor from Easton, Maryland we told you about last week, Daniel Fuentes Espinal. He was arrested and detained by ICE on July 21st after being accused of overstaying his visa. Family members confirm Fuentes Espinal is back home in Easton, a family friend sharing these photos on social media. Fuentes Espinal was originally held at facilities in Salisbury and Baltimore before being transported to a Louisiana detention center. A family friend says he was granted bond earlier this week and has now returned to Maryland. For more on this story, you can check out CoastTV.com and search Easton Pastor. The Chesapeake Bay had an above average volume of hypoxia last month. Hypoxia is when water has less than 2 milligrams per liter of oxygen. Those low oxygen levels can be harmful to marine life. Maryland's Department of Natural Resources says warmer temperatures and higher heavy rainfall can contribute to hypoxia. DNR says it's studying hypoxia levels to see the impacts to bay life. Leaders from counties across Maryland met in Ocean City this week for the state's Association of Counties Conference. Nearly 2,000 local, state, and federal officials gathered at the Rollin Powell Convention Center for the annual summer event. The conference featured state agency briefings, organization meetings, and county meetings. There were also about 30 education sessions, a trade show, and featured showcases across tech, tourism, and the economy. Governor Wes Moore spoke about the current administration's impact on the state's counties, including loss of federal funding, cuts to SNAP benefits, and recent mass layoffs. In June, Wes Moore has notified Maryland's public employees of upcoming efforts to slash $121 million in personnel costs, including high hiring fees, elimination of some vacant positions, and voluntary separations. And check this out on your screen. Earlier today, a hazmat response in Georgetown over a fuel and oil spill. Local firefighters warned people to use caution if you were traveling on Route 113 this morning near the Exxon in town. But thankfully, Georgetown Fire Department says the hazard is now cleared. And we're now going to take a live look, a good shot there out into Milford, and bring in our first alert meteorologist, Bob Trihey. Good evening, Bob.
Good evening, Brandon. A beautiful looking Saturday across Delmarva. Temperatures in the 80s. A little cooler at the beaches. We have upper 70s with an onshore flow, but 82 in Georgetown and Millsboro right now. Dew point temperatures were on the humid side, but not too bad, into the 60s and 70s. So feels like temperatures into the mid 80s, even some lower 90s away from the coast right now, as we have a flow coming in off the ocean out of the east-southeast, and that's keeping things stable across Sussex County, but we're seeing a few pop-up showers near Goldsboro on the eastern shore, also near Nanticoke as well, but they'll tend to settle down once the sun goes down. Otherwise, high pressure, and we'll see clearing skies as we go through the overnight hours, maybe a little bit of fog. Here's Futurecast this evening. Temperatures falling from the 80s into the 70s with mostly clear skies, and then later tonight we do have a chance of some fog developing, especially into Sunday morning. Your evening planner looking good. Temperatures in the 70s and then 60s. With changes next week, it's cooling down, and we're also tracking powerful Hurricane Erin and indirect effects from that storm. More on that coming up a little bit later on.
Thank you, Bob. A former Wilmington teacher has been arrested on child sex abuse charges. Delaware State Police say 57-year-old Vincent Buckwash inappropriately touched 5 students at Anna P. Mott Elementary School during last year's school year. The school and Division of Family Services reported the allegations in May. Buckwash retired just weeks later, and he turned himself in Thursday and was released on a $30,000 bond as this investigation continues. It's the first time in more than a decade drivers traveling along Route 1 in Delaware are now paying more at toll plazas. DelDOT increased rates starting this weekend for Delaware Easy Pass holders. Tolls at the Dover and Biddles plazas now charge $1.50 on weekdays and $4 on weekends. But drivers without a Delaware Easy Pass, including cash users and out-of-state pass holders, will face steeper increases. Their weekday tolls more than doubled to $2.50 each way, and weekend rates jumped $3 to $6. And this brings us to our Coast TV poll. We want to know, what do you think about the price hike on Delaware tolls? Let's take a look at the updated results from last night. So far, two leaders tied 36% even for necessary revenue and Hertz commuters, with 28% saying they're just too expensive. And if you haven't voted yet, you still can on our mobile app or on our website, CoastTV.com. And to learn more about how these toll increases could affect your summer travel plans, you can head to CoastTV.com. The Nanticoke Indian Association says it's struggling to fund this year's annual powwow. Chief Avery Johnson says the nonprofit has seen major cutbacks from usual sponsors and donations are down. A GoFundMe page was set up, and a few days ago, only one $50 contribution was made. Since then, the page has raised almost $10,000. The powwow is set for September 6th and 7th in Milton. It's a cultural celebration, but also a key source of income for the association, helping fund scholarships and community programs year-round.
Here's a live look into Salisbury. Beautiful blue skies right now, 83 degrees, and a nice way to end the weekend with warmer and more humid conditions expected on Sunday, then cooler next week with showers and dangerous surf and rip currents due to Hurricane Erin. I'll track wave heights coming up.
But first, Ukraine's president heads to Washington, coming face-to-face with President Trump just days after Trump's high-profile meeting with Vladimir Putin. What's at stake as the U.S. tries to push for peace in Ukraine?
This is Coast TV News at 6.
Ukrainian President Zelensky will meet with U.S. President Donald Trump Monday in Washington, D.C. Their meeting will come just days after Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met in Anchorage, Alaska, in hopes of a breakthrough in Russia's war in Ukraine. Putin received a red carpet welcome Friday, but signs of a future peace were nowhere to be found.
I'd like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine.
Missing from the summit was Zelensky, who was not invited. The last time Zelensky was at the White House was in February. During that meeting, Zelensky said he did not want a ceasefire deal, fearing Russia would not honor it.
We're seeing a beautiful end to our weekend on Sunday. Upper 80s to near 90 with higher humidity. Cooler into next week. A few isolated rain chances, and then watching Hurricane Erin. We're looking at dangerous surf, coastal flooding, and maybe some erosion Wednesday through Friday. I'll have more on that coming up in my full forecast after the break. It's been a gorgeous start to the weekend for Delmarva. Lots of sunshine. Humidity levels not too bad. Right now on the FH Fur Cam, we're looking at 86 in Cambridge. And here's our storyline. We're looking at a warmer and more humid end to the weekend. Temperatures 80s to around 90 and feels like temperatures in the mid 90s. And then next week cooling down and all eyes on dangerous Hurricane Erin. And that will bring dangerous surf, rip currents, and maybe some coastal flooding, I think, beginning Wednesday. But a beautiful day. High of 86 in Salisbury, 84 in Georgetown, up to 90 in Easton, with 82 the high in Ocean City. So temperatures pretty close to average. And temperatures right now in the low to mid 80s, a little cooler at the coast, 78 in Lewis, 78 Indian River Inlet, 79 in Bethany Beach. Beach with 83 in Salisbury. Dew point temperatures into the 60s and 70s right now, so moderate humidity levels, and feels like temperatures in the 80s to close to 92 in Seaford and 70s and 80s at the coast. Our flow now coming in out of the east-southeast with light winds, and that's keeping things stable over southern Delaware. Nothing in the way of showers and storms here, but we're seeing a few pop-up showers across the eastern shore right now. Maybe some brief heavy rain there. Otherwise, those showers will quickly die down around sunset as we have high pressure in place right now. But eventually this high will start to slide out to sea, and we'll start getting into warmer southwesterly flow as we go into tomorrow. As we're looking at futurecasts this evening, mostly clear skies. Could see some fog developing after midnight. By Sunday morning around 6 a.m., some fog, temperatures in the 60s, and we crank up the humidity and heat tomorrow. Upper 80s close to 90 inland areas, and then 70s at the coast. Feels like temperatures in the mid-90s away from the coast. Into Sunday night, mostly clear skies, a few clouds as we go into your Monday morning, and then I think we're going to cool it down behind a front on Monday, increasing clouds and showers as we go into Monday evening. Here's dangerous Hurricane Erin. You look up a hurricane in the dictionary, and this is the picture you see north of Puerto Rico right now, packing winds of 160 miles per hour, winds almost gusting to 200. Thankfully, it has not hit land yet as it's moving to the west as a Category 5. And then it makes a turn to the north as a Category 4 as we go into Monday and Tuesday. And then it's moving offshore and weakening as it goes into colder water. So all the models are taking this out to sea, but we're going to be seeing building surf. Here's future waves Wednesday and Thursday. Those waves maybe 6 to 12 feet and really big waves offshore. Looks like that peaks on Thursday. Then it looks like things will start to calm down after that. 68 tonight, mainly clear, patchy fog late, 90 on Sunday with warm and humid conditions. And then Monday, 80 degrees with a few showers. Paul Davis 7-day forecast. Cooler lower 80s next Wednesday through Friday. And we're watching for those dangerous swells and rip currents from Hurricane Erin.
Coming up after the break, Air Canada suspending flights. But first, AT&T reaches a settlement over a data breach. Millions of AT&T customers could get thousands of dollars in cash payments as part of a $177 million settlement over two separate data breaches. The two breaches were announced in March and July of last year. The first one impacted 73 million current and former customers, whose information included social security numbers. They were found on a data set on the dark web. The second breach included the telephone numbers of nearly all of the company's cellular customers. According to the settlement, website customers who were impacted by either breach will be eligible for a claim. The eligible customers will receive an email notice. Customers who were impacted by both breaches could be eligible for up to $7,500. More than 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants who went on strike early today will be ordered to return to work. The announcement by the Canadian Jobs Minister comes hours after the airline suspended all operations following the strike. Air Canada is Canada's largest airline. The officials say she directed the Canada Industrial Relations Board to order the airline and its employees to resume operation in order to protect the country's interest and the economy. The union representing the flight attendants and Air Canada have been in contract talks for about 8 months. Still to come tonight on Coast TV News at 6, we have an home flu vaccine. A new Purdit by the FDA is now approved. With back to school season quickly approaching, flu season isn't too far behind. This year, protecting yourself and your family can get a little easier. The Flu Mist, which has Food and Drug Administration approval, can now be home delivered to the majority of the United States. Officials say the nasal spray vaccine can be self-administered by most adults. Parents or caregivers can give out doses to children and the elderly. The vaccine can be ordered online after approval from a licensed healthcare provider, and most insurance plans reportedly cover it. And we're now going to take a live look outside into Salisbury, and after the break here on Coast TV News at 6, we have a final check on your forecast.
A beautiful Saturday evening in store for Del Mar, but clear skies, temperatures falling through the 70s and then into the 60s. Watch for areas of fog Sunday morning. Otherwise, it gets hot and muggy, a high around 90, feeling like mid-90s with the humidity. Paul Davis 10-day forecast, cooling down into next week. 80 on Monday with some storms, lingering showers on Tuesday. 78. Then we're watching Hurricane Erin offshore as we go into the middle to end of next week with dangerous swells and rip currents expected, and cooler with low 80s. And then next weekend looking dry and warm, low to mid 80s, and maybe a few showers as we go into a week from Monday.
Thank you, Bob, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 6. For more news and local weather, download our Coast TV News app. Be sure to join us tonight at 11. Until then, have a great night.